What's good, PC Nation? Oh, shit, it's the guy from the ad. What up, chat? What up, Players' Choice fans, viewers? It's been a minute, but I'm here, and I present to you the greatest NBA debate tournament to exist on the internet. This is the PCL. Chat, we got a good one for you. Make sure, let me get this all off before we start. If you are here live, make sure that you vote during every single battle. We're going to be running the live votes after each round for each participant. If you are watching this after the fact, you are not watching it live, you're just watching it on YouTube. Make sure your vote still counts, so put that in the comments, who you have, how many rounds they won versus their losses. So let's say for the first matchup, we have Marz versus MTEL. If you had Marz 2-1, make sure you go Marz 2-1 or Marz 1-2, etc., so on and so forth. I think that's all I need to get off and introduce to you. So without further ado, let's get into round one. We got, some call him the War Machine. Some call him the Crumpet Cooker. I don't know if anyone calls him that, but I will. We got, hello, Marz.
Wonderful introduction. Absolutely amazing introduction.
Thank you. Thank you. And your opponent, we got MTEL. MTEL, what's up, brother? You're muted, man.
What's going on?
What up? What up? All right, boys. Let's get into this. I'm running the show today. So if you were ever wondering who the most versatile person in PC history is, who has to run every single thing in the StreamYard, it's JD. Let me see if I can do this. Also, I am the timer as well. Fire. Marz, MTEL, round one. You boys ready?
Yes, sir.
Chat, you ready? All right, let's get it. Round one, topic one, Manu versus Iverson. Who is simply the better player? I don't know how you guys do this, but I'm going to do it my way. Marz, for round one, topic one, we're going to start with you. Time starts when you do.
I think Manu versus Iverson is it's about as much a philosophical discussion as it is a basketball one. I think a lot of the way you value basketball comes down to who you think is the better player. For example, how valuable of a player is someone who needs to be your best player in order for them to be at their best? If you can't win with them as your best player versus someone who can win as a number two, but probably won't be as good as a number one. Is someone who is a better floor raiser, who can make bad offensive teams mediocre, better than someone who can make good offenses great. Like, and I'm not saying these are the definitions of Manu and Iverson. I just think this conversation opens up a whole can of worms on how you value the game of basketball. But I'm going to start off with some numbers as I always do. And then round 2 and 3, I'm going to talk a lot more about eye test. But from 05 to 2010, with the big three on the court, the Spurs had a net rating of +5 in the postseason. That means they outscored teams by 5 points per 100 possessions. When it was just Tony and Tim together without Manu Ginobili, they lost. From 05 to 2010, a time where they had 2 chips, many deep postseason runs, they were losing their minutes with Tony and Tim without Manu Ginobili. When Manu Ginobili was on the court with Tim Duncan, they had a +6.7 net rating. When it was Manu Ginobili with Tony Parker, they had a +5.5 net rating. When it was Manu just by himself, they had a +1.44 net rating. Now, I'm not saying on-off is the be-all, end-all of who's the better player, but I do think when these numbers all point to one thing, this guy on the court equals my team is good, that's a good place to start this whole conversation. And I'm going to get a lot more deep into the philosophical discussion between the two. But long story short, Manu on the court equals Spurs equals good.
MTEL, time starts when you do.
All right. That was a good intro. This is how I'm gonna start. We're gonna start off by talking about how Manu and Iverson really played 2 different roles on the court. I feel like your role on the court matters a lot in this conversation. We're talking about a first option compared to a debatable second, third option, depending on what day it is. Iverson was an 11-time All-Star. We know he won MVP. He went to a finals, had to play against a debatable super team in the Los Angeles Lakers in the 2000-2001 season. He averaged 30 points per game 5 times in his career. In the 2000s, there were all eras to do it, and that's actually pretty tough. He's a career 27 point per game scorer, 6 assists per game, 4 rebounds per game, 4 turnovers. On 41 minutes played. Manu was a 2-time All-Star. Obviously, we know he came off the bench, kind of unfair in his position, but we all know how good he was as a talent. So, I mean, he could have still made more, in my opinion. He averaged 14 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2 turnovers a game, and he averaged a steal, and that's in 26 minutes of play. Iverson almost played the whole game, and a lot of the other stats that you can look at is very comparable for them. In the turnover department and the steals department, I think that's kind of interesting. I'm gonna start there though.
Marz, topic 1, round 2, on you.
I'm gonna bring this back full circle to the original question I asked. Is the better player a floor raiser who can make bad offensive talent mediocre, or the player who can make good offensive talent maximize and really become elite level offenses? For example, when we look at Allen Iverson, a big percentage of his shot diet was mid-range jumpers, tough jump shots, contested jump shots, which respectfully he just wasn't very good at making. Now, I could bore you with the numbers and tell you in Philly he was shooting 36% on 2-point jump shots from 01 to 06, but I don't really need to do that. Allen Iverson wasn't very good at shooting jump shots and making jump shots, but he took a lot of them, and that really brought down his efficiency. And those shots are very valuable when you're on bad teams and they need your offense. They need it. But once you get on better teams and there's better options than you taking a 20-foot jumper 6 seconds into the shot clock, that's where I think you start seeing the separation between him and Manu Ginobili. And I know some people are going to be thinking that, well, Allen Iverson had to do it. He was on the Sixers. He wasn't on a team that had offensive talent, so that's why he took those tough shots. And I was like, okay, so let me look in Denver. What was he doing in Denver? You might be surprised to find out 65% of Allen Iverson's shots in Denver were 2-point jump shots. He shot 41% on those 2-point jump shots. That is the issue I have with Allen Iverson as a player. He takes a lot of bad shots, and even when he's on good offensive teams, those issues really start to rear their heads, and you start realizing this contested jump shot, when a 40% wide open 3-point shooter is there, becomes detrimental to my team's offense. Manu Ginobili didn't have those problems.
MTEL, Cook.
Yes, sir. All right, so we're talking about the floor raising options. I can respect that, where you're coming from with that, but what I would say to combat that, I think it's easier to play with all-time talents compared to what Iverson had to work with. His second best scorer when he went to the finals that same year in the playoffs, his second best scorer averaged 14 points per game. Aaron McKee, very solid. I'm not saying 14 is bad, but besides Allen Iverson, that's the only player on the team that shot over 30% from the 3-point line. He had no floor spacing out there. It was really just, if Iverson wasn't scoring, it was basically Rouse. I'm like, it was bad out there for him. So I'm like, the scoring conversation is kind of interesting with him because we all know the scoring load was put too much on his shoulders, which I think then in turn hurt his efficiency. Yes, you can say he played with a better team later on in his career, but then again, my debate would be that's later on in his career. I don't think Iverson was as good as a player then when he was on Denver. By the time he got there, I feel like we would have seen him play with talent levels that strong when he played in the 76ers jersey in his prime. I think he would have just been more efficient. I feel like efficiency conversations really depends on the type of team you have around you, and when you have no floor spacing, you have nothing to work with, really, except just you or just hoping. I think that's what made it easier for Manu. Manu played with a top 10 all-time player. He played with another guy who was also a top 75 all-time player. I mean, I just think it's easier that way.
Marz, round 3, on you.
Yeah, 0-1 is a lot of the argument for AI, rightfully so. That's a team that, frankly, shouldn't have been in the finals in terms of talent, but they made it. They were an elite defense, and the offense was very poor. Allen Iverson was able to keep them above the hump offensively. I respect that completely. He did get outplayed by Vince Carter, Reggie Miller, and Ray Allen in all 3 of his series leading up to the finals. But we still respect the process it took to get there. But I think when it comes to Manu Ginobili, I think I would be not doing my job correctly if I didn't bring up the fact that one was a strong positive on defense, and one is maybe one of the worst defenders we've ever seen. Allen Iverson was limited by his size. He was probably 5'11", 160, gambled way more for steals than anyone I've probably ever seen. So obviously everyone likes to point to 4 steals titles. But when you gamble every single possession and end up forcing 4 turnovers a game, you end up bleeding more value than you're making up with the 4 steals. Manu Ginobili was a better man defender. The motor was higher. He didn't give up possessions on possessions like Allen Iverson did. Defensively, the gap was clear as day. Now, I've always harped on the fact that I prefer players' value when they're on better teams because I think that's what's more important to me. I don't really care about what you can do on a team that has no shot of winning. And I think Manu Ginobili, in terms of being able to play off the ball, as he was a 38% three-point shooter, being able to continue on advantages when they've been created, attacking closeouts, commanding closeouts, being able to make quick decisions, quick reads, all of those things. Even when he gets into the paint, Allen Iverson was deadly in the paint, but unfortunately, he would stop short very often because he liked taking jump shots. Even when he had spacing in Denver, he liked taking jump shots. That was just the issue I always had with Allen Iverson.
MTEL, last round of this topic. Finish him.
All right. So yes, I understand the points that you're making with Manu, and I know this is really an uphill battle to really try to talk about. I feel like it's a little unfair in a sense when you look at it. I don't know no real way to comparably just look at the two, other than to bring up teams. Manu just played on a way better team than AI has ever played on. We're being honest. You could really debate the Spurs of being a super team from an all-time standpoint. I don't really like using the super team conversation too much. I feel like we call too many teams a super team nowadays. But if I was to look at a team and say a respectable team to say you could possibly put in that conversation, I would say the Spurs. They did win 5 titles in the Tim Duncan era. They also really went to 6 finals, and Tim Duncan could have had just as many wins as Michael Jordan. Yes, he had Manu on the team to help with that. Manu was a part of that. They had the fact that Manu could come off the bench and their team still was that good. I feel like it's another point to bring up of how good their team was. I mean, he played with a Hall of Fame coach and Greg Popovich. We know that's probably debatable a top 5 best head coach of all time. He just had more to work with over the course of his career, and the fact that he really just played on one team for the most part his whole career. And AI, he had some off the court stuff. He had some practice issues. He had a lot of stuff that kind of held him back. I feel like at times unfairly, but I just feel like he had more on his shoulders, and that's why he's just better.
Run those polls. Round 1 on the last day of the regular season for the PCL, Marz versus MTEL, Manu Ginobili versus Allen Iverson. Wow. Really? All right, we're going to start that timer. Make sure you guys go and vote. If you are here live, go click on Marz or MTEL if you want your vote to count. If you are not here live, make sure you add in the comments who you have winning. How'd you guys feel about that first topic?
It was cool. This is a topic I would love to have more than a minute and a half, just because I just like talking about it, really. Like, not even just the debate, but I just like talking about Manu Ginobili and Iverson. But I had fun. Yeah, it was cool.
I like Manu as a player. Yeah, I was. I really like Manu as a player. So it's kind of a hard debate. I noticed it became more of a conversation more on PC than it's really been like in the general world, because nobody wakes up and says, AI versus Manu.
It's pretty unanimously Allen Iverson better outside of PC. Yeah.
I would say 80 to 90% of the conversations on Player's Choice exist exclusively on Player's Choice.
That's why we special, man. That's why we special.
Yeah.
Very special. Chat, you guys got 30 seconds to vote. Make sure you go. Oh, my God. Can you guys hear my cat in the background?
I'm listening to music, so no.
Okay. Listening to music and debating is crazy. Fire. Yeah, my cat is meowing so loud. This is crazy. Chat, we got 10 seconds. Make sure you vote.
I asked Ron for AI on this topic, by the way. But...
Fire. Fire. Time is up. Polls are ending, it looks like, for round 1. Marz, you took that pretty handedly. All right. Round 2, we've got, I guess I cannot be the timer while I'm doing this. Round 2, we have Steph and Draymond, Steph being Steph Curry, and Draymond being Draymond Green, versus Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Which duo complements each other better? This is a very long topic, and would be easier to build around. Marz, you went first in round 1. MTEL, you're going to kick this one off. The time starts when you do.
All right, so in this conversation, I have Jokic and Murray. I went with them because the conversation was about today. Like I asked Ron, was this a conversation about all time? But since it's a conversation of today, I feel like it's easily got to be Jokic and Murray. I think even some of the flaws that we're seeing of like the decline of Steph Curry recently, even as far as just using the Olympics, as much as people want to say, "Oh, Curry was cooking," if you really look at it, Curry was essentially doing the same thing he does in Golden State. It just looked worse. Like he was playing off the ball, and outside of 2 games, he looked terrible. I think that is going to be something that's going to carry into the regular season. We're talking about a smaller sample size. Now you're talking about an older Steph Curry. I believe he's like 35, 36. I'm not exactly sure how old he is. But you're talking about an older version of him and Draymond. We're talking about them in their prime. I actually would be on the exact opposite. But since we're talking about today, I have to just be honest. Like, both of their careers pretty much almost look cooked. Like, not saying Steph looks bad or anything, but 82 games and then a playoffs, and then you have to make it to the finals, and then you also have to try to be a winner. That's just harder just to ask for them to do in terms of just building around them. I don't even really have to stick too much on Jokic and Murray. It's easier to build around them. We already see a team that has a system that works. If the cat room wasn't killing them right now, and they got to keep the same team they already had with Aaron Gordon, with KCP, with even other players that they lost, that same team probably would have still won another championship back to back. But the cap room is the only thing hurting now.
Marz, rebuttal.
This is why I say Ron's the L host, because I asked this man when he gave me the topics. I said, I'm reading the chat right now. I said, the Stephen Dre question is peak, right? Ron then responded to me saying, yeah. So finding out that apparently he told Mtel it was about today, this man Ron be lying to us. So I'm a debate what I was told. It was peak. So I'm gonna go with peak because that's what I researched. That's what I looked up. That's what he told me. So I'm gonna say Draymond Green and Steph Curry on the court in the postseason from 2015 to 2019 had a plus 14 net rating. Now I know what some people are gonna be thinking. They had Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. Spoiler alert, that was without Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson on the court. That was just those two. With any alignment of role players you wanted to put out there, Iguodala, Sean Livingston, Quinn Cook, Jonas Repka, whoever you want, plus 14. And from 15 to 24 in the regular season and the postseason, without KD and Klay Thompson on the court, plus 10 net rating. From 15 to 24 in just the postseason, plus 12 net rating. This is a duo that no matter what situation you put them in, they produce winning moments. The reason for that is because they complement each other on both sides of the ball. The issue with Jokic and Murray is they complement each other on one side of the ball. Where Steph falls short on defense, Draymond Green makes up for that on offense. I mean, where Steph falls short on defense, Draymond Green makes up for that. Where Draymond falls short on offense, Steph makes up for that for Draymond. That's what they do. They complement each other on both sides of the ball. Where Draymond can't shoot, guess what? Steph Curry can run around off the ball, draw two to him, and Draymond Green can make decisions. Where Steph gets two on the ball in a pick and roll, 4-on-3 for Draymond Green to capitalize. When Steph gets beat on the perimeter, Draymond Green is there to slide over on defense. That complementary part is why they're better than Jamal and Jokic.
Ron indeed. Not even showing up to work today and getting dragged in the chat. I appreciate it. I'm all for the Rons. All right, MTL, back to you, brother.
All right. I'm sorry, Marz. Like everything about this is cooked. I'm not gonna lie, but we're gonna work through it, man. So with Jokic and Murray, since that's the only way to fairly bring it up, I guess, all the time. But I'm gonna adapt to that. What I will say is that with Jokic and Murray, we saw that their style of plays meshed so well that they were able to create new types of offensive schemes that we really have never seen before. From them just doing normal pick and rolls to the idea of them to be crazy enough to try inverse pick and roll. Never seen that before, and I haven't seen that before in basketball. If it happened before, hey, me. But I haven't seen that before. When Jokic started getting the picks from Murray and they started playing an offense off of them as Jokic being the point guard essentially in those situations, we just seen how unstoppable that looked when they pulled that out. They really have never truly used all the offense I actually think that they really can do as a duo. But we see them try something new almost all the time when they go into the playoffs. Murray did kind of have a down year this past playoffs. I think that probably was a championship high. People kind of have that next year they kind of just be chilling. But I think when they come back with the 100 this upcoming year, they possibly could do a trade into the middle of the year. Obviously, Aaron Gordon fits perfectly. MPJ fits perfectly. They could really trade to get other shooters, other defenders, and I think they would still also be in a great position.
Marz, topic 2, round 2 starts now.
Yeah, this is absolutely cooked. But to answer your inverted pick and rolls question, spoiler alert for the next round, Dirk Nowitzki was doing it in Dallas with Steve Nash, just if anyone's wondering, he was doing those things. Also, Draymond's runs is a pick and roll ball handler and Steph's the screener quite often too. So they do it as well. But I think I want to harp really on the defensive side of the ball, where Jamal Murray and Jokic are, to be positive, I'll say both neutral to slight negatives on defense. Draymond Green is one of the best defensive players of his era, especially in his prime, which is what I'm talking about. Where Steph Curry was an active off-ball defender and a strong communicator, he struggled on the ball and teams would often mismatch on him. Draymond Green made up for that. That is something Jokic can't do for Jamal Murray. When Jamal Murray gets picked on because of his size, Jokic isn't backline rim protection. When Steph Curry gets picked on for his size, Draymond Green is. When Jamal Murray and Jokic are both in a pick and roll, all they can do is pray and blitz. When Draymond Green is in a pick and roll with Steph, he can play drop, he can switch, he can hedge, he can do everything. He can complement Steph on defense in ways that Jokic can't complement Jamal. And on offense, even though the synergy between Jamal and Jokic is delightful, Draymond Green is a flawed offensive player who is made viable by Steph Curry. When we talk about complementing each other, that's the peak of complementary players. When you're able to make someone flawed look good, that's what you mean by complementing someone. Draymond Green being allowed the freedom to run 4-on-3s or to handle the ball in transition because Steph can be a point guard who can play away from the ball is maximizing Draymond Green. How many times have you heard if Draymond Green wasn't in Golden State, he'd be out the league in 5 years? That's complementary. That's complementing each other.
Nice, Marz. MTEL, bring us home.
All right. So in response to that, yes, I do think that is a good version of complementary. Being a complementary player for each other. I think you can do it in more ways, just offense to defense. Like in this situation with Jokic and Murray, they complement each other in a very great offensive way. Like one of the best synergies I've seen in quite some time, honestly. Where, if we're being honest, Murray's not necessarily a true point guard, in my opinion. Like in the sense of how people look at traditional point guards. He's a scoring guard. Let's be honest. He's a scoring guard. Jokic is more of the point guard, if we're being honest, for the team. He has the better vision. He has the better playmaking abilities. He has the better skills. I won't say handle, obviously. I think both of them are great closers, though. One thing you do not get with Steph and Draymond. Steph would be the closer for the team. Draymond's just there. You could give the ball to Jokic, let him, play in the post, let him score the way that you need him to do to be able to win games for you, or like they choose to do, you could go to Murray and let him be essentially the Kobe Bryant of the team. Just let him close the games out. They could go to Jokic, but more times than not, they go to Murray, and Murray becomes a different player in the playoffs. I think he cruises towards the regular season, kind of like LeBron has been, accused of doing his whole career. I think Murray tends to do that too, where he just like stop us when we get there. And more times than not, we've been seeing recently when they both play on the court, more times than not, people do not stop them. So I think that's a great sign of them just complimenting each other more.
MTEL, good closing argument. Marz.
I think it's interesting that when you look at what Steph and Dre were able to do together, I mean, I could just point to the championships and all of those things and say they had more success. But we understand there's context. Klay Thompson was there. Denver didn't have a Klay Thompson. Kevin Durant was there. They definitely didn't have a Kevin Durant. But I think it shows something when you look at the team's on-court performance seems to have a bigger dip when Steph is out there without Draymond than when Steph is out there without Kevin Durant. When Kevin Durant seems to make a smaller difference to the on-court production of Golden State than Draymond Green does, there's a clear sign that those two have a synergy that we can't understand. How many times have you seen Draymond throw behind the back DHOs because he knows Steph's curling? Or how many times have two guys gone to Steph and Draymond's finds and cutters left and right? That synergy, that understanding is something that can't be replicated by many other players. Steph's gravity and that allowing Draymond Green to have the freedom to facilitate and get guys involved in offense. Jamal Murray isn't able to do that. Jamal Murray's synergy in the DHO game is great, but Steph Curry is able to be a better spot-up shooter for Draymond Green. He's able to fill the lanes better in transition for Draymond Green. He sets screens for Draymond Green. Jamal Murray's not much of a screener. He is sometimes when they go to their closing lineups, but really that's more so to do with how great Jokic is than it is a tandem, in my humble estimation. Steph and Draymond on both sides of the ball is a tandem. Jamal Murray and Jokic is Jokic is this great and Jamal Murray is excellent next to him. But Steph and Draymond, I think, is the epitome of complementing each other, whereas I think Jamal Murray and Jokic is a bit less of that, in my humble estimation.
Woo! round 2 topic, or round 3. Topic 2 has concluded. Run the polls. If you're here live, make sure you vote. If you're not, vote in the comments.
Elron, by the way.
Elron. I love hating on Ron, so anytime I could
I mean, I think it's valid in this instance.
But this was pretty crazy.
Oh, that is so fire.
I don't know. If someone wants to rewind it, look at my face when Emto said, "Oh, Ron told me it was about today." Look at my face. I heard no such thing. So
I asked him that. I said, "Are we talking about peak or are we talking about today?" He said, "No, no peak today." I said, "All right, never mind. I don't
literally asked him, are we talking about Steph and Draymond peak? Yeah. Like,
damn, we got
two
defensive. And on the first topic, I was told I couldn't choose Manu. He told me, could I go with Iverson? That's why I said, okay.
I asked him for Iverson. Oh my God, Ron! Oh my God!
Wow, this is going down in history. Ron, it's official. If anyone had any doubts, I love you, Rod. Holy moly, that is amazing. Marz, speaking of duos, who's the best player's choice duo of all time?
Chillin', buddy.
Nice. MTEL?
I would probably say, it's chilling somebody. Probably, I don't know, probably chilling Marz because they've been around for
wow.
I've been around as long as Chill. Oh,
no, not that long, but yeah, I worked through there.
Marz, low-key, you might have been around as long as
chill out, man.
I'm still curious. All right. Timer is up. The polls are coming down. It looks like, unless this changes in 0.2 seconds, Marz, it looks like you got round 2. But that's just the live vote. If you are watching this video post live, make sure you vote in the comments. All right. We got topic 3, and that is the GOAT. The GOAT. Dirk Nowitzki versus Carmelo Anthony. Who is the better scorer? Whoever has Dirk Nowitzki, don't let me down.
Yeah, JD is definitely unbiased. Definitely.
I'm very unbiased in this. I am also not voting, so I will leave it to the chat. All right. Emta went first last round. Marz, you are going to kick us up. Kick us up is fire. Kick us off. Time starts when you do.
Okay. I'm gonna start this statistically like I did in round 1. I feel round 1 is my stats round, and we'll move on from that. In their Melo is the less efficient scorer, the worst shooter, and is worse in the playoffs. I'm gonna explain why statistically. Melo's most efficient high volume scoring season is 2013, where he was 32 points per 75 on plus 2.5 relative true shooting. His best postseason series is 25.8 points per 75 on plus 6.6 relative true shooting. His best postseason run is 28.5 points per 75 on plus 2.8 relative true shooting. Dirk's best regular season is 27 points on plus 7 true shooting, and his best postseason is 30.5 on plus 7.8. I'm going to list you a bunch of series that Dirk has all more efficient than Melo's best ever efficient series. 0-2 versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, where Dirk Nowitzki was 29 on plus 17. 2011 versus the reigning champion defending Los Angeles Lakers, where he was 28 on plus 16. 2011 versus KD in the very next round, 32 on plus 14. 06 versus the Spurs, the number 1 defense, where he was 25 on plus 14. 09 versus the Denver Nuggets and Carmelo Anthony, where he was 32 on plus 12. 2010 versus the Spurs again, where he was 28 on plus 12. 03 versus Rasheed Wallace and the Portland Trail Blazers, where he was 28.5 on plus 11. 06 versus Pau Gasol and the number 2 ranked defense, Memphis Grizzlies, where he was 33 points on plus 11 relative true shooting. That's just a bunch of series Dirk has better than Melo's most efficient series ever. Dirk was the more efficient scorer, and I'm going to get into why he's the better shooter, better post player, better off-ball player in round 2 and 3.
MTEL, cook that fraud and let him know why Carmelo Anthony is a better scorer than Dirk.
All right, so that was a good start. I almost low-key wish I could have been the one to start with the statistics. So I don't want to be an echo chamber. So where I'm gonna go with this, let's talk about styles of play. Melo has a style of play that we all know has been conducive to being favorable in multiple styles of basketball. We talk about him as a FIBA player as well as an NBA player. Some of us consider him to be one of the best FIBA basketball players of all time. Outside of him and KD is like 1 and 2 when you just talking about FIBA rules. I think that's interesting that his play style can translate so well to different styles of play. Where we can call him inefficient in the NBA, they play a more physical brand of basketball when you watch FIBA play, if we're being honest. And somehow in a more physical style of play, he's actually playing better. I think a lot of signs of that has to do with the fact that Melo's style of play, honestly, just a very productive way of how to play an offensive game in basketball. Yes, I know he did used to take a lot of long twos, but hey, they play from that era. I think Melo could have been a great 3-point shooter if he focused more on being a 3-point shooter than a mid-range shooter. He has a very good post-up game. We know he's a very strong player. A lot of players have came out and talked about, hey, I ain't gonna lie, when I'm going against Melo, I gotta put ice packs on myself because dude is strong. He is deceptive, but he's a very strong player, very physical. I think his game just translates to more styles of basketball than Dirk, in my opinion. And I'm gonna start with that.
Marz, pour honey on my goat, man.
Yeah, I think Dirk as an overall player, I think is underrated. I think people remember the 2011 run because that's the championship, and people aren't going back and watching the 01 Mavericks or the 02 Mavericks. Dirk Nowitzki used to be an athlete. Dirk Nowitzki used to be a guy who would attack from the perimeter and get to the rim and finish. That's what Dirk Nowitzki used to be. He transformed his game. That ability to go from a face-up perimeter big to a slower post-up, strong, grinder out big is something that gets slept on all the time with Dirk Nowitzki. Go watch him in 01 and go watch him in 2011. It's two different players. You may see number 41 in Dallas, but that's two different guys who are both putting up an efficient 25 in the regular season and postseason. He's shown that he could do it as a face-up guy, as a guy who's getting to the rim. He could do it as a post-up guy. He could do it as a guy who's shooting threes. He could do it as a guy who's in the mid-range. Dirk Nowitzki from 03 to 2011 shot 46% on 2-point jump shots in an era where teams were scoring 105 points per possession. You know how crazy it is to have someone who can generate you efficient half-court offense on demand because they just don't miss mid-range jumpers. For reference, Melo shot 40% from 06 to 2014. That's his prime scoring season, 40%. Dirk Nowitzki was 38% from three in that stretch. Melo was 35%. Dirk Nowitzki was 89% from the line in that stretch. Carmelo was 83%. Everywhere across the board, Dirk Nowitzki shot the ball better. Melo was strong as hell, but guess who was strong too? Dirk Nowitzki. You couldn't get up under him. You couldn't bother his shot. When he's releasing it, you know that one-legged fade is unstoppable. There was no game plan you could have for Dirk Nowitzki once he figured out how to leverage his strength, leverage his size, and wouldn't settle for outside jump shots from three. When he realized that my sweet spot is 10 to 16, whenever he got that ball, it was automatic for Dallas, and that's why their offenses were always great.
Mtel, let him know about Carmelo.
Okay. So we know that Melo has won a scoring title before. Dirk has never won that. Yeah, he's been a very good scorer, I would say. If you talk about Melo's efficiencies, I can see where you come from with that. I think with Melo, the thing with his career, he is a volume shooter. And we know how it is with volume shooters. They got to get shots up to like really be their best. I think Melo, when you get him in a rhythm of being a player, I think he's actually one of the more unstoppable scoring players, even more so than Dirk. I know for their careers, obviously Melo averaged more points per game. He averaged 22, Dirk averaged 20. I ain't gonna lie, if you go career for career, it's relatively very similar to each other. They're within 2% from the field and from the 3-point line if you go off their career. I would say with Melo, it's just, I don't know. It's something about when you watch him play, at times he just looks more like that guy to the point where even stole an MVP vote from LeBron in a year where people said LeBron should have went unanimous from MVP voting. He just has something about his game that just like draws people in. Where him as a scorer, you just love to see him play basketball. Like he was a fun player for a lot of people, and he was very physical, very strong, and he just was a great talent. Honestly, that's really just what people look at Melo and see.
Round 3, Marz, this is your last round. Please don't disappoint me.
I actually agree. Melo is one of the more aesthetically pleasing players. I will always say I've never understood the mixture of size, strength, and speed he had. That first step was ridiculous. I'm not going to deny how good of a scorer Melo was, but I think I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the postseason. Dirk Nowitzki's scoring in the postseason just translated better than Melo's did. Now, That could be my opinion, but respectfully, it's more so a fact. In their playoff peaks, which happened at the same time, by the way, from 09 to 2011, Dirk Nowitzki averaged 30 points per 75 on +9 relative true shooting. He played against a bunch of elite defenses in that stretch, including the Spurs, including the Lakers, including the Heat. He played against a bunch of elite defenses and put up 30 points per 75 on +9 true shooting. Melo in that same stretch matched him pretty similarly in volume, 28.5 points per 75, but was only a +2 relative true shooting. That's where the difference is. They both operated in similar areas of the floor, the mid-range, trying to get to the rim, didn't shoot a bunch of threes, but could make them. But Dirk was just way more effective. His ability to chisel out position and get deep position and make shots over the top of defenders, couldn't really get bothered from contests, didn't take as many bad shots, and by virtue of him being a 7-footer, Dirk Nowitzki was like, we see what KD is. Dirk Nowitzki was like the prototype. That's what he was. You can't get near his shot. If he gets into the mid-range, it's unstoppable, and you just have to live with the result. Contest high and hope he misses. That's all it was for Dirk Nowitzki. There was no game planning. Teams realized that when he got to his peak, and that's why he ended up going on that Cinderella run in 11, because you couldn't stop Dirk Nowitzki.
Chat, ignore those premature polls because Mtel is not taking us away yet. Put him in the fryer and cook him, Mtel.
All right. So for my last round, where I'm gonna end off is saying, I know Marz was talking about Dirk Nowitzki's strength. He talked about Dirk Nowitzki, younger Dirk, and yeah, I understand that. He was strong in the sense of him as a player, but I mean, how do you really measure strength when you are a 7-foot player that didn't play center? Like, he was playing power forward. I believe he had time where he played center, but more so than not, kind of remind me of AD, where he preferred playing a power forward spot. That's the spot where we know him from being the best at. We call him one of the best power forwards of all time. I think being a 7-footer and not playing center, I think that shows signs of something. What that shows, I'll let y'all choose what y'all want to call that, but I think the fact that Melo has been moved around a lot, you could technically play him on a lot of different roles. I actually think Melo could play your center over Dirk, and it will work better, to be honest with you. Just his style of play, ironically enough, I know we talk about him like his offense and defense. Again, I really want to harp on the FIBA rules, only because I got to see a different side of Melo. That growing up, I didn't get to see this side of Melo. I just used to look at him just a shot chucker. But I watched him play in the FIBA. I saw how he plays in the team setting when you put him in a more physical brand of basketball. I was like, if the NBA was set up that way, you would see that more with his game.
Run the polls. All right. That was round 3, topic 3. Marz and Mtel, your regular season has come to an end. Marz, how do you feel about the PCL regular season?
Man, I can't wait till Ron just stops being involved. I can't wait till we get some judges, man. The playoffs, I'm looking forward to it. Win, lose, or draw, I'm looking forward to the playoffs, man. I humbly believe I should be 3-0 right now, but I understand. Right now, I'm 1-1. We'll see if I've won today. But I humbly believe I should be 3-0. And I think I'm ramping up for the playoffs. I think I'll be all right.
Mtel, you were one of the 2 wild cards to join the PCL. So first of all, congratulations on your regular season. The first PCL ever. One of the first wild cards involved in the PCL. What was your experience so far?
It's been a fun experience. I'll say I think I've heard people use the term home field advantage. I didn't really understand what that meant in these debate platforms until I started watching PCL matchups, until I started thinking about the people that's on the panel. And now I actually got to see the biasness used against me. So I'm also happy about the playoff thing. I'm not gonna lie, I did complain in the comments on one of these about the playoffs. I'm not gonna lie. I said, yeah, I need the judges too, because I've actually had matches where I went back and looked and read the topic again, listened to what I said, heard what my opponent said they didn't even bring up the topic, and I still lost. I ain't even gonna bring up what matches those was, but yeah, I'm excited about being here though. Like, it's still fun talking basketball.
Mtel, you're pretty much saying that the PCL is completely fraudulent.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Time is up. End the polls. I'm just playing. That's fun. Happy to have you up here, though, bro. It's been fun. I've been watching every single one of these behind the scenes because I've been the cameraman, or the timer man. So WCam.
W timer, man.
W timer man. All right, y'all. That concludes the 3 rounds for Marz and MTEL, and it looks like Marz, he took round 3, a clean sweep today on the live. That does not mean, again, that that's the end-all, be-all. Make sure you vote if you are not here live. Any last words before I send you guys off and we roll intermission?
Elron.
This was not the bestest of matchups. That was very unfavorable.
All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank you guys so much. Congratulations on the regular season. Good luck in the playoffs. All right, y'all. All right, chat. I am a man of the people. If you guys want, I'll do it because I have choices up here. If you guys want Kentucky Woman, I'll do it. W's in the chat right now if you want Kentucky Woman. Right now if you want Kentucky Woman. Otherwise, we're just going to roll something else. But I will do it. Chat, you guys are slow. I'm seeing it. Here we go. That's a lot of W's. I'm not going to lie. W Kentucky Woman.
Kentucky woman, she gets to know you, she goes to own you. Kentucky woman, she gets to know you, she goes to own you. Kentucky woman, she gets to know you, she goes to own you. Kentucky woman, she gets to know you, she goes to own you.
C Boogie. That comment is crazy. But wow. W Kentucky Woman. All right. We got matchup 2 of the day, the last day of the regular season, chat, and it's a good one. We got the other wild card, John D. John D, how you feeling, bro?
How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you.
Yes,
And
sir,
of
yes, sir.
course, one of my favorites to watch on Player's Choice, I'm not going to lie, the one and only Swipa. He's just chilling, drinking his water. H2O, hydrating. Swipa, how we doing, bro?
What's going on, y'all?
Not much, bro. You good? Can you hear us? Swipa, can you hear us? Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. We're having technical difficulties. We'll let him sort that out. This is not Marz and MTEL. We got Swipa and John D. All right. We'll let Swipa figure that out, but I will introduce topic number 1 for these gentlemen right here. We have Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson. Who had the greater career? This is a great topic right here. We're chilling. Chat. How we doing? John, what'd you do today? How was your day?
I've been
can you hear
chilling. Oh, here you go.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we could hear you. We're good?
Oh boy, Denver crazy, bro. My bad. Go ahead, bro.
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay. All right. We got Topic number 1. Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson. Who had the greater career? Swipa, we'll start with you. Your time will start when you do.
Yeah, this is probably one of the more interesting debates that I've ever had. And one of the reasons is when you look at Magic Johnson, he's traditionally ranked over Larry because of the accolade accumulation, obviously the amount of titles that he won. But player for player, I just want to give people an idea of just how dominant Larry Bird was. And Magic cannot hold a candlestick to this. Literally, from 1983 to 1988, Larry Bird averaged 27.3 points per game, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals and a block, and he shot 54% from 2, 40% from 3, 90% from the line. And by the way, over that stretch, he won 3 MVPs, and he never finished worse than 3rd in the MVP race over the course of that time. Larry Bird maintained his numbers and its efficiency into the playoff. He was a much better scorer than Magic Johnson was. He was a better rebounder than Magic Johnson was. He was a better defender than Magic Johnson was. Now, Larry ain't Magic as a passer. Magic is 1v1. That's just Clinton. He's 1v1. Like, there's nobody else like him. Larry Bird is a top 10 passer ever. Don't let people fool you. So Larry literally across the board was a more skilled offensive scorer than he was. He also was not a liability defensively, and he also dominated on the rebound as well. Like, literally, there's almost nothing he couldn't do. And while he was in the same era as Magic, won 3 straight MVPs in the same era. It's Larry. Better player.
John, let the people know about Magic.
Okay, so when we talk about Magic Johnson, the one thing I want to shed light on is Magic Johnson's rookie career. But before we do that, I want to talk about Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. They both played around 900 games, both made 10 All-NBA teams, both made 12 All-Stars. So these are 2 very decorated NBA legends. But in Magic Johnson's rookie season, he averaged about 17 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists, all while contributing to the Lakers going 62-20 with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, when getting to the playoffs, Magic Johnson looked way better than an NBA rookie or an NBA rookie that we have seen or that we will see in later years. I think Magic Johnson played phenomenal in the NBA Finals. He averaged about 21 points. And in Game 6, he had about 42 points, 17 rebounds, and I think 7 assists in a closeout game with no Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Mind you, on top of that, he was playing the center position. Magic Johnson came into the NBA and dominated. Larry Bird did win 3 straight MVPs, but Magic also won 3 MVPs out of 4 seasons in the same era where Michael Jordan was winning his MVPs. Dominance, Magic Johnson is just at the same level of Larry Bird, if not better. Magic Johnson translated the playmaking, the size, the athleticism. He made us look at the point guard position a lot differently than we did back in the day. 6'9", he was very athletic. He was very good in transition. When we saw this player coming in, this was not a player that we could look at and say, he has to put his back to the basket. He has to be a forward. With his gifted talents, he had to be put at the point guard position, and this is all while being 6'9" and being a power forward or even center type of build.
John D. used all up his time. Swipa, round 2. Back on you.
Yeah, that's a good retort, John. I really do think you make some really solid points. But I want the audience to realize, that, like, they played each other in the NBA Finals. Now, Magic ended up having a winning record. But did you know in the first finals that they played versus each other, 1984, Larry Bird in that series, when they won in 7 games, 27, 14, and 4 on 48, 67, 84 splits. I just want to repeat that for the audience to hear. 27, 14, and 4, 48, 67, 84 splits. Like, across the board. Whenever Larry had to rise to the occasion when they played each other, he was excellent. He was wonderful. And again, limited sample size in the 3-point volume. That was just a different kind of era. So obviously he wasn't shot chucking the same degree he would right now. But over the course of their careers, when they met up in the NBA playoffs and the NBA Finals, 19 games played against each other, 25, 11, and 5 for Larry Bird. And he shot 40% from 3 and on 46% from the field and was a far better free throw shooter. Literally, one of the things about Larry that if you ask NBA players about him, he didn't have a true weakness in his game because before Larry had that back injury, most people, not some, most people thought he was the best player in the world. And that is including when Magic was in the league. Again, you can't topple 3 straight MVPs when both players are at their apex. It's Larry.
John, your round 2 starts when you do.
As for Magic Johnson, we can talk about accolades because we're talking about who had the greater career. Throughout 9 of 12 Magic Johnson seasons, he was in the NBA Finals 9 times. He won 5. He has 3 Finals MVPs. And in the playoffs, he beats out Larry Bird in PER, VORP, blocks plus minus, win shares, and true shooting. I think Magic Johnson's dominance is very, very, very underrated. He can switch between point guard, shooting guard, played some power forward, played some center. For people who don't know, he came into the league playing in the shooting guard position. And I just think when we talk about how versatile he is and how much he revolutionized the game of basketball, we've seen a lot of point guards come after him who are standing at 6'9", standing at 6'8", standing at 6'7", standing at 6'10", and Ben Simmons and LaMelo Ball and LeBron James. I don't think this happens without LeBron James without Magic Johnson. Now, LeBron and Ben Simmons, these guys are not point guards, but these guys set the table on offense for their teams. I do not think that happens without Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson is a 3-time NBA Finals MVP. He did that next to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, meaning more oftentimes than not, he was a Finals MVP every time he went to the Finals. So 75% of his career, he was in the Finals, and about 60% of the time he won the Finals, he was a Finals MVP. I think Magic Johnson has been more dominant than Larry Bird.
Leaving time on the clock, it wouldn't be a true NBA debate without bringing up LeBron James. Swipa, round 3 on you.
Man, did I just hear a true shooting quote in a Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson conversation when everybody know they had different shot profiles? Was Magic shooting mid-range shots? Was he an elite 3-point shooter? Was he taking jumpers? I'm trying to understand. Why are we bringing up true shooting? That's how I know you lost right there, John. You were doing a great job. You brought up shooting. It's not even a conversation. Larry Bird, put the numbers away. You know, and I know, look at me. If you need to get a bucket right now, you're going to Larry 10 times out of 10. Not even a question. And one of the great things about Larry was transcendent to the game because everybody knew that the conversation around Larry was he was the most unstoppable offensive player because of his scoring for other NBA players. Even remember the whole Charles Barkley quote, like, it's disrespectful that you got a white boy guarding me. Larry was a legend, like across the board. And in the NBA Finals at the highest level, he had 2 Finals MVPs, 3 MVPs. And as you read all that stuff, like literally one of the best shooters of all time. Even to this day, we're comparing the greats like Luka, like Jokic to him because he was the trendsetter. He was the president. This is the kind of player that we were building around. You had no shortcomings in his game other than the fact he wasn't an elite dominant defender, but neither was Magic Johnson, and they were giving you bucket consistently. It's wrap.
John, round 3. Take us home.
I think Magic Johnson was pretty efficient from the mid-range. On top of being a 10-plus assist per game type of player, he also gave you about 20 points per game. And I think it's just a little bit more valuable to be able to elevate the players around you to the level that Magic Johnson did. And when we talk about revolutionizing and when we talk about how his game revolutionized the game in later years, I think you have to give that to Magic Johnson. I mean, the way he's able to play multiple positions, the way he's able to fill multiple roles while still elevating the offense around him. We look for that in NBA players today. Can he handle the ball? Can he elevate the team around him? Can he defend multiple positions? I know Magic Johnson couldn't do that, but he was kind of the size and blueprint for offensively for what a lot of NBA teams would like to use today. I think the way he played basketball really segued into the positionless era of basketball. I think he was the starter of that very topic. I think Magic Johnson is the better playmaker. I think Magic Johnson rises better in the playoffs. I think I think he has more Finals MVPs than Larry Bird. I think he was more revelation, or he revolutionized the game more than Larry Bird. When we look back 20, 30 years from now, we're going to say there are more blueprints of Magic Johnson or more teams trying to get more players like Magic Johnson than we would say Larry Bird. I think Magic Johnson's skill set translated more to the modern NBA now than Larry Bird did.
Round 1 in the books. Swipa versus John D. Larry Bird versus Magic Johnson. Run the polls. A classic NBA debate. Some say these two saved the NBA. I would know nothing about that because I'm a casual. Chat, make sure you vote. Your votes matter. This is the last day of the regular season. We're about to get into the playoffs. Votes are important for the seeding. I actually don't even know how the playoffs work. I assume that's how it works. That's usually how things like this work. Make sure you vote. The poll's about to go up here any second. I think now. Right?
Not going.
Now,
it's not going
there
up
it is.
because he said that. He said Magic was a better playoff Rodgers. It's not going up. L poll.
Swipa swaying the chat. Nasty work. No, that was great, fellas. This is fun.
No, John D, that was
This is a
good.
lot of
That was
fun.
solid, bro.
Yeah,
I've never heard you argue before.
Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that.
John D, I know that you're one of the wild cards, and there's 16 or however many people involved in this. But I'm not gonna lie, you are one of my favorite PCL contestants.
I appreciate
I like
that.
you a
bro. I
lot.
appreciate that.
I like the way you debate, man. It's
I
fun.
appreciate that. You know, I think more than just winning and losing, I'm just excited to have the opportunity. Like I'm like Tyrese Halliburton. Like I'm the guy who's gonna smile, you know, things like that. I'm just happy to be here. You feel me? I definitely would like to win now, but yeah, I'm just happy to be here, happy to talk ball, and it's giving me opportunities to do more research on guys like Oscar Robertson, you know, because I wasn't really the type of guy to know a lot about Oscar Robertson before this debate. So, you know,
That's dope, man. We're happy to have you, man.
appreciate
Thanks
it.
for taking part.
Appreciate it.
All right, y'all got 30 seconds left or 20 seconds left on the poll. Make sure you go vote. And if you are not watching this live, please leave a comment in the comment section who you have winning each round, each matchup for all three of these matchups today to close out the first regular season of the PCL. History in the making. All right, my timer over here has ran out. I'm sure we're a little bit behind on the poll, but make sure you get your votes in before that closes, and it's looking like Swipa, I think you took round one here. That poll should close any second. We will move on to topic 2, round 1. Swipa went first on topic 1. John D, you're going to take it away. Sixers versus Mavs. Which team will go further in the playoffs next season? John, on you when you're ready.
Okay, so when we talk about the 76ers, I think we all know one of the main arguments when it comes to this team. I mean, Joel Embiid is just coming off a season where he only played 40 games. And when we talk about Joel Embiid in the playoffs, Paul George in the playoffs, it's one or two things. They underperform or they're not available. Joel Embiid missed some critical games last season in the playoffs. Paul George has missed some critical games in the playoffs in his Clippers tenure. He has played his most games in a season since his OKC stint, but it's almost like we're counting on it. It's almost like we're waiting on it for Joel Embiid to discombobulate, for Paul George to discombobulate. While I like this Philadelphia 76ers team, if we look at a roster up and down, I do not like their depth against the New York Knicks. I do not like their depth against the Boston Celtics. And that's something we need to talk about when we talk about who's going to go deeper in the playoffs. I do not think this Philadelphia 76ers team is good enough to make it to an NBA Finals. They still do not have a good enough team to be a for sure Eastern Conference Finals team. And I know when we talk about the Eastern Conference, it's like it's the weaker conference. The Western Conference has a lot more contenders than the East does, and I can give you that, but it's almost like we see this all the time. NBA analysts say this all the time. We are waiting for Joel Embiid to break down, and it sucks to say this, but I think it's the truth. And I don't think the 76ers have gotten that much better by giving someone north of $50 million a year who has yet to or who has not shown recently that he can live up to the hype in the playoffs or that he can still be 100% ready to go in the postseason.
Swipa.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. All I heard is 76ers aren't deep enough to beat the Boston Celtics with Luke Cornett and Peyton Pritchard and Xavier Tillman. Oh, I'm so scared, bro. The Sixers are not tripping off that. Joel Embiid, I'm telling you this right now. Every series Joel Embiid goes into in the Eastern Conference, he will be the best player in that series. The only reason he doesn't win MVP last year is because he hurt his knee. First 35 games, 35, 10, and 6 on elite efficiency. Embiid is one of the best drop coverage defenders in the NBA, one of the best rim protectors to the NBA, and he might be the best scorer in the NBA. So you're adding Paul George, who even if he's very good, in player, nah, tripping. Tyrese Maxey averaged 30 in the NBA playoff last year, giving the New York Knicks buckets consistently in the NBA. And on top of that, now if you're going to have a healthy team around them, and then Embiid, even in now, this is the thing about Embiid. Everybody's saying they're not going to do this and that. Embiid averaged 33, 11, and 6 in the playoff last year, like a 60 true shooting, despite the fact that he was significantly labored. So if you're asking me who's going further in the playoff, they're going to have a 3-star system with very good, high-quality role players built around their roster. I think that this is going to be the year the Sixers have the best chance of making the NBA final, because the Mavericks, everybody healthy in the West, they ain't making it out the second round next year if everybody's healthy. Not really a conversation for me.
Round 2, Swipa, just to let you know, your Wi-Fi is trying to sell you right now, but you're good. We heard most of it. You just start cutting in and out a little bit, like about 10, 15 seconds in. All right, John.
Okay, before we move on to the Dallas Mavericks, I just want to say the Philadelphia 76ers without Joel Embiid were 22nd in offensive rating, 24th in defensive rating, and 22nd in net rating, therefore proving that this team plummets drastically without Joel Embiid on the floor. And what's been Joel Embiid's biggest concern since he walked in the league? Him being on the floor. And now, well, while we move on to the Dallas Mavericks, I want to talk about the personnel, because we do not see teams often get a lot better, get significantly better after making it to the NBA Finals. They bring in a guy like Klay Thompson, who a lot of people could say Klay Thompson is not as good as he once was, but Klay Thompson, after suffering 2 significant injuries, is still taking the second most shots on the Golden State Warriors. This season, Klay Thompson averaged 18 points per game on 38% shooting. And just to give you guys a quick stat, Klay Thompson above the break threes is 41%. Klay Thompson wide open threes is 39%. Klay Thompson right corner threes is 50%. To give you guys another breakdown, PJ Washington shot 23% on catch and shoot threes and 18% on wide open threes. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving are some of the best isolation scorers we have ever seen. And what's going to make it even harder to guard those guys in a postseason is them having more space. And they made top tier defensive teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves look like they could not do anything to contain those two. I think the Dallas Mavericks are really setting up a recipe to go back to the NBA Finals.
John D. cooking for my Dallas Mavericks. Swipa, round 2 on you.
I heard, so his thing was that PG is a playoff dropper, and then you bring a Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson? Klay's going to be starting at the small forward for the Dallas Mavericks, and he can't play defense? Who's he going to guard? Who they going to guard? So let me tell you this. So as opposed to the Philadelphia 76ers, they're going to have Embiid, they're going to have Paul George, and they're going to have a nice collection of defenders on the roster, including Kelly Oubre, including Caleb Martin, and some others. Even if Caleb is an average defender, they're going to be running out Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, and Klay Thompson. Defensively, the Thunder are rolling through them. The Nuggets are rolling through them. The Wolves are rolling through them. Like, what are we doing? They can't guard nobody. So here's the thing. You're bringing up shooting. Guess who was one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league last year? The 76ers. Who did the 76ers add this year? One of the best off-ball three-point shooters in the league in Paul George. 1,000%. One of the best wing defenders when healthy in Paul George. And then on top of that, Tyrese Maxey, who could have made third-team All-NBA this year. If Tyrese Maxey takes another leap, they're going to have another All-NBA player. So 2 All-NBA players, a borderline All-Star on the roster, and then on top of that, Embiid's going to be top 3 in MVP rates again? Come on.
Not gonna lie, that was a little bit of an L host moment over here. I forgot to start the timer. My bad. John?
Hey, Swiper, man, you got to stop making me laugh while I'm doing my debate, bro. It's throwing me off. It's throwing me off, man. It's throwing me off. And I know the defense argument with Klay Thompson, It could be there, but then you bring in guys like Quentin Grimes and Najee Marshall, who are both very solid perimeter defenders. I think Najee Marshall can sit at the same table defensively as Derrick Jones Jr. You bring him off the bench, you throw in some decent lineups that can put Najee Marshall and Klay Thompson on the court together. I think he can take that point of attack defense and move it towards another level. But anyway, when we talk about the Dallas Mavericks, they had a game plan, they had a scheme last postseason that I really liked, and that was the gap defense, leading teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who couldn't hit an outside jump. Who couldn't hit an outside jump shot. They looked very flabbergasted against the Dallas Mavericks defense. The Oklahoma City Thunder, who couldn't hit a jump shot and got a lot worse in the restricted area by forcing them to the basket. I think their defensive scheme works against multiple different teams in the Western Conference, giving these different teams harder chances to make it out of that round. When we talk about guys like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have multiple non-shooters in that lineup, when we talk about guys like the Memphis Grizzlies, who have multiple non-shooters in their lineup, and the Denver Nuggets, who got significantly worse from shooting this offseason, where you got guys like Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon, who can clearly be used in the gap defensive scheme. I think the Dallas Mavericks, who lead teams to shooting a lot worse in the restricted area, can give them a lot of playoff wins. And when we talk about a guy like Luka Doncic, who is a generational playoff performer, I think the Dallas Mavericks can get farther than the 76ers.
I'm muted. Go ahead, Swipa. This is the last point in points.
So just to be clear here, so the team, you're arguing for defense and floor spacing against a team with a better defensive personnel, the best defender between the two teams, and more than adequate floor spacing. Let me just go through the roster for the audience real quick. Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Paul George, Caleb Martin, Joel Embiid. That's already better than the Mavs starting five, and that's not really a conversation for me if you're telling me Kyrie Irving, Luka, and Klay are going to be your first three. And then you got Kyle Lowry, Eric Gordon, KJ Martin, and Andre Drummond, and then Jared McCain coming off the bench. Again, if we're going forward and everybody predicated on health, because Luka Doncic missed 17 games 2 years prior, and they didn't even make the playoff. So if we're going to do that, we're going to go based on if they're healthy going into the playoff. You're telling me Joel Embiid is going to be a 33, 11, and 6 player on your roster? That's what I'm telling you. Even if you're going to argue defense, Embiid plus Tyrese plus Paul plus Kelly Oubre plus Caleb Martin, that's just a better defensive personnel. I'm not even trying to, I think you made a good point, but if you're just arguing defense, they're going to have advantages on their roster. And then even if they want to decide they want to play drop, they got Andre Drummond coming off the bench. They're going to be one of the better rebounding teams in the NBA versus the Boston Celtics, versus the Milwaukee Bucks, versus the New York Knicks. They're not going to have a lot of holes in their game. But the issue's going to be, as you said, health. But guess what? Kyrie and Luka also have had injury concerns in the past as well.
Run the polls. That is it for topic 2, Sixers versus Mavs. Chat, you're not voting on your favorite panelist, contestant, or team. You are voting on who brought the better arguments, who debated better. Make sure you vote when that poll goes up. We will put a minute and a half on the clock. In 3, 2, 1, maybe. Go. Come on. All right. Swipa, your Wi-Fi seems to be chilling now, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm traveling. I'm traveling, everybody. I'm in Denver right now, so it's
Mr. Worldwide.
How's that going? I hope you're enjoying yourself.
No, I love it, man. I was out salsa dancing last night, y'all know.
Nice.
And then doing some bachata. You know what I mean? I was living. It was a lot of fun. Went out to a little skyline last night. I went to the Botanical Garden just today. Went to the Nature and Science Museum today, and it was amazing. I'm telling y'all, if y'all ever get a chance to go to Colorado, go to Denver and do that, make sure you sign up and do that. John, if you ever been to Colorado, ever been to Denver, there's so many outdoor spots here.
Yeah. All right. Definitely gotta look at that.
I have heard nothing but good things about just Colorado in general. So that's dope. Sounds great.
Then went to Red Rocks on Friday, bro. Like, I've been having a blast, man. I'm not gonna lie. The traffic is crazy. It's different kind of traffic than like Atlanta. Atlanta has bad traffic, But like the traffic in Denver is just like obnoxious. That's the issue. It's just like obnoxiously bad. And I don't know what y'all. Everybody knows I've never drank in my life. I've never drank alcohol in my life. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows this. This is a common theme. This is water. Y'all, what y'all thought this was clear vodka?
That would be insane. Just slugging vodka. That'd be crazy. All right. Time is up. This is a close poll. Let's go ahead and close those. And then we will move on to topic 3. And topic 3 is, well, before we get there, John D, it looks like you took round 2 for the live poll. Make sure if you're watching this after the fact, you vote in the comments because this is not the end-all, be-all vote. We are going to be counting all these votes after today. All right, topic 3, Rockets versus Spurs. Which of these young franchises would you win more with over the next 10 years? I believe, John, you went first that last topic. So, Swipa, it is going to be on you to kick us off. You go, and the time will go.
Wait a minute. So the question is, which franchise would I accomplish more at the GM?
Are you asking or are you starting?
I'm both. Start asking. I'm just asking. Start asking. Let's start it off.
My bad. Oh, you are genuinely asking. You know what? I'm not going to lie. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Sorry. What was your question? What?
No,
you as a GM?
Yeah, look. I think this is interesting. Like, so I got Victor Wembanyama to start my franchise, who by the end of next year is going to be a top 10 player in my books, and he's 20. That's my start with Stephon Castle, Jeremy Sohan. What are we talking about? Is this a debate? Oh, so Alfred Şengün, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Tari Eason. That's really good. I think they have a very bright future. But Victor Wembanyama, I just want to communicate this. So you're saying maybe the most tantalizing NBA draft prospect ever is on my team at 7'4", a 36% from 3 pull-up shooter. He's going to average 26, 11, and 6, and 3 and 2 next year. He's going to win DPOY. By the time he gets to his apex, he's going to be at least, a top 10 offensive player in the league. So if I'm starting with Victor, and I got Stephon Castle and Jeremy Sohan, and I'm leaning into the future, which franchise would I accomplish more with? The way the NBA works, despite whatever John D is going to tell you, I'm going to give you the facts. You don't win in this league consistently unless you have an all-time great player. And I already got one of those that's leaning in that direction on my roster. He has nobody on the Houston Rockets. I got Victor. I got the best defender in the league for many people.
I have to mute him. All right, John. All right, John, it sounds like you got the Rockets. On you.
Okay, so when we talk about who can accomplish more as a GM, I don't think personal accolades can go to a GM. I don't think the GM can hoist the MVP trophy with Victor Wembanyama. I don't think the GM can hoist the Rookie of the Year trophy with Victor Wembanyama. We have to talk about a full 12 to 15 man roster. And when we talk about a 12 to 15 man roster, the Rockets clear. The Rockets clear as of right now. And when we talk about the Spurs and their future, there's nothing I love more when we talk about our future than proven young talent. And I want to talk about Luka Doncic real quick because Luka Doncic was so good that the Dallas Mavericks did not get a lottery pick his second year with the Dallas Mavericks, making it even tougher to bring in another star next to Luka Doncic because they did not have the lottery pick that they could have drafted a second star with. And I think the same thing can happen with Victor Wembanyama. I think it's going to be a lot harder to draft well now, especially with the Spurs getting better and better every year, making it harder and harder for them to get a second star next to Victor Wembanyama. And you talk about Stephon Castle and Jeremy Sohan. We have Cam Whitmore, who can jump out the gym. He averaged about 13 points per game and had about 37% from the field, shooting about 5 a game in his rookie season. Reed Shepherd, who looks like the best shooter in this draft, and he absolutely dominated at the Summer League. We have Jabari Smith Jr., who's getting better as a three-point shooter every single season. Amen Thompson, who's a very good perimeter defender. Alperen Sengun, who also gave your boy Victor Wembanyama 45. We can't forget about that. These guys were making a playoff push with a team average, a team age average of 23.6.
Swipa, back to you.
Okay, the question is, which franchise would you accomplish more with as a GM? So again, I didn't just bring up Victor Wembanyama, and I forgot somehow my own dude, Devin Vassell, who's a 6'6", 6'7" 2 guard, who's going to be one of the best shooters in the league, super young, on a very good contract. And this is not including Keldon Johnson and the rest of the roster. The whole roster is young, and they're even younger than the Rockets with a better apex player than anybody you got on your team. And also, I would like to add, I'm also playing with the better franchise. So you're telling me I get to have the Spurs, and for some people, a top 3 NBA coach of all time, and Greg Popovich, one of the most functional and healthy ran organizations in sports, period, who already did this with Tim Duncan, who already did this with David Robinson, who did this with Manu, who did this with Tony, and then they started to do it with Kawhi Leonard. They've shown if they have an apex player who's in conversation for best in the world, they win championships consistently. So this is not much of a conversation for me because the Rockets just got a new head coach. We have no idea what they're going to look like going into the future. They're building a really good team. They're building a nice collection of solid players. But you don't know if Sengun, if Amen Thompson, if any of them are ever going to be an upper echelon level player. And you already know that Victor Wembanyama is going to be the best in the world, plus playing for a credible organization.
Go ahead, John.
When we talk about the Houston Rockets, I want to talk about their assets. I think they have an extremely exceptional collection of assets that they can move for superstars around the league. I mean, within the next 3 to 5 years, I think the Houston Rockets are going to be in every single big trade talk that goes on in the NBA because they have the 2027 Nets pick. Do we think the Nets in 2027 are going to be a legit playoff team? I don't think so. They just started their rebuild this offseason. When we talk about them having the 2027 Suns pick, who also said, their GM also said that they will be looking to get out of the second apron in 2026. So whether that may be a rebuild, whether that may be trading Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, we don't know. But I also like to look at the young talent that they could move that has been proven to make differences on teams. Amen Thompson with his perimeter defense and his ball handling, that can be a difference maker. Reed Shepherd with his shooting, that could be a difference maker. Jalen Green just being liable to go off any night with his athleticism, with his shooting. His inefficiencies have been there his first few seasons, but I think he can figure it out. Alperen Sengun, who looks like one of the better centers in the league going into the future. They have tons of assets to go get any superstar that they want. I don't see my time.
My bad. You got 30 seconds.
Okay. So when we talk about the Houston Rockets, where they could go get a guy like Devin Booker if the Suns want to give that up, they have their picks. So if you want Devin Booker and you want your picks, come on, Devin Booker. Now we really look like a championship team. I think the Houston Rockets are more like the Oklahoma City Thunder than a lot of people give them their credit because they stacked up draft picks, they stacked up young players, and now when a superstar becomes available, the Houston Rockets are going to be in every single conversation because of the assets that they have been able to build up. So if I can accomplish a lot, I think I can accomplish more with the Houston Rockets.
I'm coming for that title, Ron. All right, I promise I'm going to start the timer this time. Swipa, it's on you for round 3.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. You're bringing a trade assets. The Spurs have their picks. They just got the Minnesota pick. They have very movable contracts in Keldon Johnson. They got CP3 added to the roster, and they have Harrison Barnes. Outside of that, they don't have any contract that's weighing them down and preventing them to go after anybody they want in the future. You're bringing up Devin Booker. Devin Booker was also linked to the Spurs because they have the assets and the trade asset and the contract to move if they needed to acquire a player like Brandon Ingram, which is being notable we talked about right now. talked about Devin Booker. There are other players that could go after. But again, if you're talking about what would I accomplish more with, again, I know that like the semantics of, who's on what and where and all that stuff, I get it. But Victor Wembanyama with Stephon Castle and the rest of the young core, they have more than enough for the next several years that when they're on the court, they're going to be a dominant team in the future. They're young. But again, they're not that far behind the Houston Rockets as of right now, and they're just getting their roster together today. So I think across the board, if you're saying from a talent standpoint, the Spurs have that. You're talking about from a coaching standpoint, Popovich clears Ime Udoka. He's a better coach. It just is what it is. He's an all-time great coach. And then the front office, from the ownership down, is in lockstep with each other. They know their vision is they're building towards Wemby's future. They are going to have the best player in the world. They're doing very smart asset management by not taking on any crazy acquisitions right now because they know in the next several years their window is wide open more than anybody else.
John, close us out. Round 3.
I don't feel like I really deep dived into this young core. Jabari Smith Jr., who looks like he has the potential to be an all-NBA type of defender. Alperen Sengun, who can give you the number one option, rebounds, points, assists that a really deep playoff team could actually give you. And like I said, the assets. Ime Udoka has set a culture for the Houston Rockets that has really helped this Rockets team. You have guys like Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, Reed Shepherd, Fred VanVleet, and Dylan Brooks actually bringing down that culture from the coach to the players, and they were able to make a play-in push later in the season without their best player. This is a team that's going to be very competitive year in and year out, and I think they're going to be in conversations to win a championship because when you have a deep team like the Houston Rockets have, that is a formula to go win a championship. The formula to go win a championship is to have multiple rosters that you could throw out and have a positive net rating. Multiple players that you could throw out on the floor who can be switchable, who can be as versatile as any other team in the league. Having the scoring in Jalen Green, who I think his potential is very high in the scoring aspect. Alperen Sengun, who is just a switchblade on offense. And Reed Shepherd looking like he can be one of the better shooters in the league at his apex. I think there are so many roles in so many spots that are filled with this Houston Rockets team that you cannot talk about this team and say that they are not a championship team in their future. Ime Udoka is a great coach, in my opinion. He has set this culture for the Houston Rockets and helping them out to push towards a playoff push. And I think the Houston Rockets are going to be a future NBA champion.
Topic 3 has come to an end. Can we run the poll? It's Rockets versus Spurs.
Well, you lied. You said Alfred Sengun can be your number one option on a deep playoff team. You know you don't believe that. You know you don't believe that, John D. Don't lie to people. Don't lie to the people.
No.
Chat, I promise I have not touched a single ounce of adult beverages. I am I got a lot going on over here, okay? ADHD's going crazy. I'm clicking scenes on and off. It's crazy over here. All right. Polls up. Make sure you go vote. If you are watching after the fact, make sure that you add your comments of who you got winning each round. Fellas, that was the conclusion of your guys' regular season. John, talk to me, man. How was your experience so far?
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, man. I really enjoyed it. I had a phenomenal time, and I'm looking forward to the playoffs. I mean, whether it's win or lose, I really be having fun up here, just talking ball and really talking to some of the guys on the Players' Choice show. I've been watching for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. So I really appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking to move forward.
Dope. Swipa, what about you, bro?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad that we got through the regular season and we can do what we need to do. Appreciate it, man. It's been a good weekend. It's going to continue. Shout out Players' Choice. Shout out PCL. Y'all my folks.
Yeah, bro. Enjoy the rest of your time in Denver. That sounds dope. 20 seconds left. Make sure you vote. Get your votes in. Remember, this is not the end-all, be-all on the voting. We are going to go and count up all the votes from all the comments across all the PCL rounds, days, videos, whatever you want to call it. All right, time's up. Close the polls. Close the polls. Let's switch this here. Boom, boom. Dope. All right. Polls should close any second here. Boom. Battle 2, topic 3, John D. Swipa. John D., it looks like you took the live vote for round 3. Congratulations. Again, it's not the end-all, be-all. Before you guys head out, any words?
Appreciate the opportunity. This was probably my most fun debate I've had since the regular season started. So it definitely was hard trying not to laugh with him crashing out while I was speaking. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny.
Swipa?
Yeah, man. Don't do live debates on vacation. That's what I've learned. Don't do live debates on vacation.
All right, y'all. You guys enjoy. Swipa, enjoy vacation, bro. John D., good work today. You guys have a good rest of your Sunday. Peace out. All right, we got Gifted in Pen coming up next. I'm about to run this intermission. We'll see you in a minute 30. All right, y'all. It is time for the final debate of the evening, the final debate of the regular season of the first inaugural PCL, the greatest NBA debate league on the internet. And we have two heavyweights to close us out. Introducing, first, we all know him. Bring him up here. Gifted. What's up, bro?
How's it going, JD? How you feeling, man?
It's going great, man. I get to share the screen with you for the final debate of the PCL for the regular season. This is amazing.
Lady.
All right. And his opponent, you guys all know him too. Pen, what up?
What's going on, man?
How are you doing, bro?
How's it going, Pen?
I'm good, Gifted. How are you doing?
Feeling great, man.
All right, y'all. Let's get into this. We got topic number 1. Let me get situated over here. This is crazy. Ron, come to work sometimes, huh? Topic number 1. This is Gifted versus Pen. We got 1990 Michael Jordan versus 2013 LeBron James. Who is the better two-way player? Gifted, we're going to start round 1, topic 1 with you. And your time will start when you do.
This argument is not about who the greatest of all time is. It's not about all the seasons. It's about 2013 LeBron versus Michael Jordan 1990 through 91. And in terms of two-way player, this isn't about all of the stats. This is about, as an all-around player, who was a better player. And the answer to that is LeBron James. In the 2013 season, LeBron averaged 26, 8, and 7.3 assists per game on 64% true shooting. That was one of his most efficient seasons ever. He was the best skip passer in the NBA. His playmaking was also one of the best playmaking seasons ever. And more than often, he was dominating his matchup on a night-to-night basis, where he was able to dominate in the playoffs as well. When you look at LeBron James and you look at Michael Jordan, they're looked at to have two of the best peaks of all time. But ultimately, in these two seasons, what LeBron James was doing to the league was absolutely ridiculous and insane. He was able to do many things offensively that we haven't seen. And again, two-way player. So it's not just the offense, it's the defense. In terms of both ends of the ball, Michael Jordan did not clear LeBron on offense, but I can certainly say LeBron James was a much better defender than Michael Jordan in terms of his versatility as a defender, being able to go from guarding Tony Parker to Tim Duncan. That's how good LeBron James was on both sides of the ball. So LeBron is the better two-way player. I'll continue to make more arguments as we transition to the second round. I'm curious what Penn has to say.
Penn, talk to me about MJ.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna take a page out of Michael Jordan's book, and I'm gonna give you my entire playbook before I start. That's what Michael Jordan would do. He would say, "I'm gonna go left. I'm gonna spin right. I dare you to stop me." So I'm gonna start with the regular season. I'm gonna go to the playoffs, and then I'm gonna give you a little lesson on fear versus reverence. So let's talk about that regular season production that you were referencing, right? Well, we're not talking about careers, as you mentioned, right? 10-time scoring champion, 9-time all defense, 5-time MVP, 6-time finals MVP. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about the 6 championships. We're not talking about the 6 times finals MVP. We're not talking about no game 7s. We're not talking about all that. But let's talk about 1990, 1991 Michael Jordan versus 12-13 LeBron. Both won championships. Both first team all defense, first team all league. Both won finals MVP. But the edge goes to Jordan. He did much more with less. He had the tougher conference. 1990, 1991 East was loaded, okay? The 12-13 East was not. I dare you to name the third best team in the East without crying. Michael Jordan had higher impact metrics. And believe me, it gets much worse for you when we go to the playoffs. 12 box plus minus versus 11.7, 10.8 value of replacement versus 9.9, 2.7 steals versus 1.7 steals, and that 26.8 points you referenced, Jordan had 31.5. 20.3 win shares versus 19.3. Jordan clears.
Gifted. Round 2. You're muted, but not in the... Yeah.
Notice how Penn did not respond to the question of better two-way player. Instead, he went on a soliloquy talking about a lot of other things. Let's get to the point. Who's the better two-way player in terms of defense and offense? If someone wants to say Michael Jordan was a better offensive player, maybe, right? But defensively, he was not better than LeBron James. Offensively, LeBron James shot a career high at the time, 77% on shots from 0 to 3 feet. He was one of the most dynamic players in the NBA. He was unstoppable in transition. And keep in mind, this is after he learned how to develop his post game from Hakeem Olajuwon. So the way defenses loaded up on him, they couldn't do it the same because he had more of a variety built in to his scoring. And you mentioned his scoring overall and his numbers. LeBron James had to play with Dwayne Wade. So there was a co-star thing going on where LeBron James had to be off the ball a bit to better complement Dwayne Wade because both of those players were better with the ball in their hands. But make no mistake about it, with LeBron having the ball in his hands, he produced a very, very efficient offense all the way through and through. In the playoffs, he averaged 33.8 points per 75 on plus 7.8 real true shooting. That is what LeBron James is able to do. And again, defensively, Jordan did not have the versatility to guard different positions like LeBron did. Jordan could not play small ball center for the Miami Heat. LeBron James could. LeBron James is specifically the better two-way player than Michael Jordan. That is the debate. Let's bring it forward to that conversation. He is better.
Penn, round 2 on you.
Now, this is what happens when you rehearse your debate points in front of the mirror instead of actually talking about who you're talking to, right? Because you said I didn't talk about defense. I believe I mentioned steals. I believe I mentioned value replacement. I mentioned box plus minus. Everything there was talking about defense. But you want to talk about defense because that's the conversation you want to have about versatility. I'll get to dominance on defense when we talk about the next point. But let's talk about playoffs because that's what it's about, right? We're talking about the best of the best going up against the best because that's the playoffs. We're not talking about what you did against the Bobcats. We're not talking about what you did against the Hornets. We're talking about what you did in the finals, what you did against the better teams in the league. And that's why the playoffs exposed the frauds. Did Michael Jordan get exposed in the playoffs? No, he did not. The numbers tilted in Jordan's favor in the regular season, but in the playoffs, that 12 box plus minus went to 14.6. What about LeBron? Oh, he dipped. He went from 11.7 to 10.4. That paltry 25% assist percentage that Jordan had during the regular season, the whole advantage that people say, oh, you know, LeBron's a much better playmaker. I get that. I get that LeBron's a better passer, but by how much? What's the measure? How much? Because Jordan's assist percentage went to 36.7% in the playoffs. That's higher than LeBron. Okay. True shooting percentage. LeBron fell to 58.5. Jordan rose to 60. Okay. And swept by the Knicks. Swept by the Knicks in the finals. 4-1 against the Sixers. Jordan had a championship in less games than any player in league history except for one.
Whoa, you got to cut that man mic, JD.
My bad. He was finishing his point. You can finish your point too if you go over by 2 seconds. I got you.
Okay, cool. So I find it funny because once again, Penn did not counter if Jordan was better on defense than LeBron. And let's talk about that, right? Defensively, Jordan was not the best defensive player on his team. That was Scottie. They were a 1A, 1B type of situation defensively. LeBron James was asked to do a lot on both ends of the ball for his team. And specifically, when it came down to that Lakers overall series, right? When MJ was in foul trouble and they had to have Scottie Pippen come in and guard Magic, the size and the versatility that Scottie Pippen had elevated him to be a better defender than Michael Jordan was. LeBron James, ironically, would be a perfect matchup for Magic in terms of being an off-ball guy and also being able to protect the paint. And once again, LeBron James with Wade off the floor propelled the Heat to a 17.7 offensive rating in his minutes. That will rank amongst the best of all time. LeBron James clears him in terms of his defense. You just admitted in your own round while you were yapping that he was a better playmaker. And in terms of scoring, LeBron James had one of the most dominant scoring seasons ever, where he literally shot 80% of his shots were twos, and he shot 60% on twos. He was better in this individual overall season in terms of being a two-way player, offense and defense. You're not going to argue that Michael Jordan was a better defensive player. What you're going to bring up is accolades and all this stuff. How about LeBron James almost being defensive player of the year, but because Marc Gasol won it over him, which everyone knows was BS, he was not able to do that, despite the fact that Marc Gasol did not make a first team. LeBron was better on both ends of the ball that year.
Penn, take us home.
I know that you want me to keep talking about defense, but between the two of these players, only one of them has actually won a defensive player of the year. You're talking about Michael Jordan like he's not a great defender because he's a slightly worse defender than Scottie Pippen. I think that was always debatable between those two. Scottie had a much lower load on offense. He did less for the Bulls. You're laughing, but it doesn't really matter because you don't know what you're talking about. Go back and actually watch Michael Jordan. I know it was a little bit before your time, son, but you got to watch Michael Jordan to talk about Michael Jordan this way. The way you're talking about him, it sounds like you're talking about Nikola Jokic defensively. This was a very impressive defender. Now, you want to talk about getting exposed against the greatest player of all time in the post against Magic Johnson. No one's stopping Magic Johnson in the post. It's not like LeBron was the lockdown defender that you're describing him to be. LeBron's versatility defensively is the same argument that people make for Jason Tatum versatility defensively. Yeah, you're versatile because you're 6'8" and you can do a lot of stuff on the court. But let's talk about fear versus reverence. What is defense? It's deterrence, right? When Victor Wembanyama or Hakeem Olajuwon swat your shot, you're thinking about them. Michael Jordan, you had to think about this guy as a defender. He was a dominant defensive playmaker. Michael Jordan's defense was a reason for offensive players to choke. This was a reason for offensive players to not try things because he was a disruptive, sometimes gambly defender that absolutely put the fear of God in his opponents.
Run the polls, son. That was round one, or that was topic one. Gifted versus Penn. Make sure you are voting. Again, chat, this is not a biased vote. You're voting on the better debate. Who brought you the better points? Who debated better? This is not MJ versus LeBron. This is Gifted versus Penn. Make sure you go vote. And if you are not here live, please leave a comment and vote as well. Good first round, fellas. This is great. We're cruising today.
I'm sleepy as hell, bro.
Hey,
I don't know how I got.
Oh, I can tell.
You're good, bro.
Yeah,
You are looking tired, but you're here. You're fighting. You're battling. That's all that matters. I appreciate you showing up.
This is my flu game.
This is
this is my flu game. I got to cook and I got to cook in flu game excuse. But yeah, it's not an excuse.
Oh man,
it kind of is a little bit.
No, it's not. If I lose, I lose. But I'm gonna win this.
You're gonna lose. That's gonna happen. You are going to lose. Just want you to know that.
It's nasty personality, bro.
I didn't even start the timer. This is L out of me. All right, we're going to run this for 20 more seconds. 20 more seconds. I will get over here.
Eat them crackers, Gifted.
Wow, what a callback. Now I have to do math in my head. This is all around nasty. Sorry, chat.
What's the math?
I'm trying to count in my head while reading chat, while doing all this stuff. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and end this. All right. Round 1. Gifted takes the live vote again. This is not the end all be all. Make sure you vote in the comments below. We're going to topic number 2.
What was the split?
Gifted 70%.
Wow. Okay.
Topic number 2. What is the most important advanced analytic to determine a player's impact in value? Wow. Really getting into the nerd side of hoops, huh? All right. Penn, Gifted started last round. You start for this topic. On you.
Okay, perfect. So when we're talking about value over replacement, right, we are talking about a number that is a catch-all metric, right? When we talk about things like steal percentage, block percentage, etc., we're talking about the building blocks of what is ultimately what we're trying to answer in the barbershop debate is my player better than your player? Is LeBron better than Jordan, or is Jordan better than LeBron? And we want catch-all statistics. Now, for a long time, people use points per game, rebounds per game, blocks per game, etc. But then when advanced stats came along, we started to get value replacement. The reason I really like value replacement, or VORP, or why some people call me the VORP guy, is because it is one of the best predictors, if not the best predictor, of who is going to be MVP. And by the way, this goes back to before VORP was even invented. So it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, that guy leads in VORP, so he wins. It's actually, you can go back and figure it out. Oh, Michael Jordan led the league in 1991 in VORP, and he happened to be the best player in the league. The reason the value replacement is such a great metric is because it also measures ability and availability. And I've always believed that availability is the best ability. If a guy can go out and be dominant, I'm talking dominant motor, dominant production, dominant efficiency for 40 minutes every single night, he's giving you more value than the guy who can do 22 minutes, 25 minutes. There's a lot of guys who can be great for 10 minutes a game, but when they start getting 25, 30 minutes down, that's when they start to fade. So the superstars, the best players in the league, they're the ones who do it consistently for the longest period of time.
The mighty Vorpin Power Rangers. Gifted, on you.
Yeah, I find this funny. We know Penn is the VORP man. Let's shit all over VORP, right? So VORP is a cumulative stat that is heavily reliant on the box score. VORP is a season stat, so it's not tracked per game. It's based off of the season. And I find this funny because in an actual Player's Choice episode that me and Penn had, Penn was trying to downplay Cade Cunningham because Cade was a negative VORP player for the 2021 draft class. He mentioned how he was behind Josh Giddey, Santi Aldama, and Quentin Grimes. He made sure to hammer home the Quentin Grimes point about VORP. Yet we all know Cade Cunningham is a better player than all of those players. VORP is a very shitty stat. And another reason why VORP is not a great stat, do you know who the all-time leaders in VORP are? LeBron, because he has more seasons played, Michael Jordan, and then John Stockton. Now, if you want to say John Stockton is your third best player of all time, you got it. I would disagree. My stat that I look at is true shooting, because let's be honest, all advanced stats do not tell you the story. They do not. But true shooting does a good job at painting the full picture of scoring efficiency, at providing context to three-point shooters who people might have felt were not efficient because they might have shot 40% from the field. But we know taking more threes means you're taking better shots worth more points. We use true shooting all the time. People understand the context behind what true shooting is attempting to do. I don't know what the formula for VORP is. I can't sit here and tell you what all of the numbers are, but we use true shooting to highlight players in different ways, and it's more accessible. VORP is based on games played, minutes played, season played.
Pay attention, chat. They are cooking, I think. Go ahead, Penn.
So let me translate what you just said. I'm too stupid to figure out what VORP is, so it doesn't make sense to me. Lord help me, man. Now, I'm so happy you brought up the reliability of the stats, so I don't have to. Okay. Let's talk about who led the league last year in value over replacement. Jokic, He's pretty damn good. Doncic, Giannis, Shea, Sabonis, Brunson, LeBron, Halliburton, Anthony Davis, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid. Those are the leaders in VORP, ranked from 1st to 10th. Who led the league in true shooting percentage, bro? Daniel Gafford, Grayson Allen, Obi Toppin, Mo Wagner, and Rudy Gobert. You have an offensive stat. True shooting percentage is a purely offensive stat that Rudy Gobert is top 5 in. I want y'all to think about that, chat. Think about that real hard. You got this yapper, this professional yapper up here, this disrespectful motherfucker trying to tell you that this is the stat of stats. This is the stat. Bro, this guy could have picked EPM. He could have picked effective field goal percentage. When he picked true shooting percentage, I'm like, wow, I thought he was dumb. I didn't know he was this dumb. You're talking about true shooting percentage. You're talking about a stat, an offensive stat that Rudy Gobert is top 5 in the NBA. And by the way, just in case you think I'm cherry picking this season, 1991, these are the guys who led the league in true shooting percentage. Buck Williams, Brad Daugherty, Otis Thorpe, Horace Grant, Reggie Miller. VORP, Jordan, Stockton, Drexler.
Gifted, on you.
I'm so happy he brought up who won the MVP and how he's trying to tie VORP to MVP. I find it funny because you call yourself a Nikola Jokic fan, but if you understood what VORP was really doing, VORP is about the replacement player. It's a comparison to what a player produces to a replacement player. Let's think about the Denver Nuggets when DeMarcus Cousins in the modern era was their backup big and how bad those lineups were. A big part of why Jokic cleared everyone else in the league in VORP is because obviously Jokic being the main big for his team, playing the amount of games that he did, is going to have a higher value because his other lineups are ass. If you watch basketball, you would know that. So because of that, his VORP is higher. Well, like I said, every stat is not great at determining one thing. Every stat has their flaws. But with true shooting, what we understand is true shooting is a better version than field goal percentage. What often happens, bigs are in the paint a lot. They have easier shots in twos. Sometimes they have more limited shots. And because of that, their field goal percentage is going to be higher. True shooting makes it a fairer fight because it includes 3-point shots, it includes free throws, and it gives you a lot more context. I'll give you a prime example. A player like Chauncey Billups was looked at to be not effective for the Detroit Pistons because his shooting percentage was under league average. However, almost half of his shots were from 3. So really, he was efficient. And that story would not be able to be painted without true shooting. Instead of you talking about Jokic with his high VORP, with the shitty lineups being the reason why it's so high.
Pen, round 3. I'll unmute you. You got it.
That's the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard. And I'm not even capping when I say that. Everything you just said was wrong. Bro, you had a week to research what value replacement was, and you could come up with that. A replacement player is not who replaces you. It is what is termed as the league average replacement player. It's not because DeMarcus Cousins is bad, so Jokic is good. You're just talking raw plus minus. Box plus minus, as it contextualizes to VORP, is something completely different. And I would run out of my timer 6 times trying to explain it all to you. But here are some coefficients that go into value replacement. Free throw attempt, field goal attempts, personal fouls, blocks, steals, rebounds, offensive and defensive, turnovers, assists, 3-pointers made, and points generated. Basically, value replacement attempts to measure how good you are as a basketball player, offensively and defensively, and how good your team is. But what it does better than plus minus in general is it contextualizes your role on offense. It takes a lot. It is a very smart stat. It is a reason why intelligent people, like people who, actually go around the league and determine whether a player is good or bad, that's why they determine that. Now, the reason that you mentioned Cade as I'm an idiot because of Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes is not a better player than Cade Cunningham. Quentin Grimes is better at his role than Cade Cunningham is at his role. That is what VORP attempts to measure. It is how optimized you are for your role. Okay. Honestly, I'd need 6 timers to go through everything you got wrong in the last one. Chat, if you vote for this, you are voting for like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Wow.
Gifted, take us home.
Yeah, that's fine. I mentioned Cade Cunningham because mentioning VORP for a player like Cade Cunningham does not properly contextualize everything. You're mentioning Cade Cunningham when, again, because of his injuries overall and not playing that much, that's why those players like Trey Murphy and those other players had a higher VORP than Cade Cunningham. The replacement player overall is mentioning in a vacuum what that will be compared to Nikola Jokic, who, because he's the primary big for his team and is filling up the box score in those metrics, he's going to warp and lap a lot of players in VORP. You can't use VORP on a day-to-day basis to compare players. The reason why I use true shooting is at the very least, true shooting is a metric that you can use on a game-to-game basis. It's not based off seasons. It's not based off games played. It's simply about what a player shot and how a player shot. With every stat, you need context to understand how to use it properly, and true shooting has been the golden standard for comparing efficiency between players. For you, on the other hand, you would like to use VORP to paint a picture about Cade. How I know that? Because in the conversation we had, you were mentioning VORP and mentioning players like, oh, wow, Cade's not over him. Yeah, because he missed a lot of time. VORP is so skewed by the amount of games that you play, and that highly impacts the validity of the stat. Where if you're going season by season, game by game, stretch by stretch, you can't use VORP in that way. You would have to go over a body of work after the season is completed. True shooting is more accessible because of that, and that's why I would much rather use that to gauge impact compared to that.
Gifted with time left. All right, run the polls. W basketball, I guess. I think. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know what was going on. Do not explain it to me, because the chat has to vote, and they're gonna vote on who they think brought the better arguments, who debated better. You're voting on Gifted or Pen. Chat, make sure you vote. If you're not here live, make sure you vote in the comments below. I'm not gonna lie. I was not the smartest student. So I don't know if that would have helped me understand what was going on, but I don't know. I don't even know anymore. My bad. There we go. Thank you for running the poll. You got a minute and a half to vote. Chat, make sure you make your voices heard. In the last debate of the regular season for PCL, and we have one more topic to close it out, and we can get back to hoop talk. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you vote. Holy moly. Wow. My brain is spinning. I have all this stuff going on over here. I'm trying to understand what's going on in real time. It was great. Learn something new every day. Chat, how are we doing? Let's see. I've been reading the chat too much, too. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. Keep forgetting to click start. Jaden's blaming Marz. I'm down to blame Marz. I'll blame Marz and Ron anytime I can.
Do?
I don't know. I actually have no idea. Blank Boy in the chat. What up, Blank? Long time no see, brother. Okay. You guys got 30 seconds.
I have a question for you. It's not necessarily related to the previous one, but if somebody tells a lie, let's just say I say so-and-so won 4 MVPs, but they didn't win 4 MVPs. Does the other person have to waste their timer actually telling the chat that other person lied? Or does someone do that for them? Does the moderator explain that that's a lie? What do we do here?
I'm not going to lie to you, Ben. It's up to the people to understand and tell what's right from wrong.
Okay.
At least in this setting today.
All right.
So go ahead and close the polls. It looks like from right now, so long as these polls close, Pen, it looks like you're taking topic 2, and these should close any second. There we go. Okay, Pen took that 51%. We are on to topic 3.
Thank you, chat. Appreciate it.
To close out the day, the regular season of the PCL, and we got a good one. Jokic versus Hakeem. Who would you choose to build your team around? Gifted, I believe that this last debate, it's on you to start. So kick us off. The time starts when you do.
No problem. So earlier I was told to eat my crackers. I just want Penn to know I went to Whole Foods and I got my crackers and I will be eating them while you yap and glaze Jokic. So let's get to some things, right? Penn, his definition of greatness is elevation, space, how much space you create on offense, defense, being consistent, showing up in high pressure moments, how you influence the game. Ironically, in this debate, Hakeem fits a lot of that criteria. When you think about the top 10 that Penn gave, MJ, Bill Russell, LeBron, Tim Duncan, Magic, Kareem, Bird, Curry, Shaq, then one of Dirk, Arvydas Sabonis, KG, or Wilt. Hakeem fits that really well, considering the fact that guard players went to Hakeem for their bag moves, right? LeBron, in his best overall season of player, went to Hakeem to get the sauce from Hakeem because he was that talented of a player. The answer in terms of who I'm building a championship team around compared to Jokic and Hakeem, as good as Jokic is, Hakeem is way more well-rounded than Nikola Jokic. And winning a championship is all about margins. Sometimes you don't get to draft players who can have 60-point games every now and then, right? Sometimes you have to win off the margins. And for Hakeem Olajuwon to win back-to-back titles, playing against some of the hardest competition in the league, coming back from down 3-1 in the playoffs and then going on to win the title on top of that, beating the number one ranked seed, Hakeem has fit a lot of those criteria way more than Jokic. So I'm going with Hakeem Olajuwon.
Time to spare. Pen on you.
Okay. Can we mute? Can we mute the crackers? All right, perfect. Thanks. All right. I'm gonna start this conversation. I could start it out one of three ways, right? I'm gonna start it out with portability and just how you fit into different lineups, right? I think that a great part of how you play with different players comes down to portability across generations, right? Obviously, Michael Jordan didn't play in the same era as Nikola Jokic. Jokic didn't play in the same era as Hakeem Olajuwon. But when we're talking about portability, we are talking about space generation, which Gifted alluded to, right? I talked about how you generate space. Well, space is created through passing and shooting. That's two of the biggest ways that you can create space. If you can hit, full quarter dimes, like with precision accuracy, you're expanding the space on the court. When you can hit threes like Steph Curry, you're expanding space on the court. Well, I want you to ask yourself, who helps their teammates more? That's really the question, right? Does Hakeem help his teammate more on defense, or does Jokic help their team more on offense? And I'm going to argue that obviously Nikola Jokic is the better player. I'm not arguing that Hakeem is not a great player. I love Hakeem Olajuwon. He's one of the most skilled, most interesting players as an individual. But this is a team sport, and it does matter how much better you make your team. When we talk about porting across generations, could Hakeem play in today's game with his lack of shooting, with his lack of three-point shooting, with his lack of awareness of how to move without the basketball? Would he be as dominant today? Would Jokic be as dominant in the 80s? So when we talk about portability across generations, across different lineups, could they play with a dominant second, a star advantage? Jokic.
Gifted. Back to you. I'll unmute you on this side. You should be good.
So Penn talked about space creating on offense, but again, this is not about who's more impactful, either defensively or offensively. It's all of it. And on defense, it's not close at all. Hakeem is one of the only players in NBA history, y'all, to be top 5 in offense and defense in a season at a time in the NBA. Because Hakeem was a great individual scorer, he could pass, he could show on defense on the perimeter. He was one of the best shot blockers of all time with his timing. He had unstoppable moves. The Dream Shake set up a lot of great scores at the basket, a lot of kicked out opportunities. His teams religiously were high in terms of three-point shooters despite the lack of talent. They only averaged like 8 threes. If you put him in today's era with better shooters and the fact that he's not a black hole on defense that is going to stand there and kick the ball to reset possessions, Hakeem would be absolutely dominant with even more space. And once again, he never had a co-star that could, at the very least, shot create from all 3 levels at a high level, shoot threes the same way that Jamal Murray could. And at the end of the day, when you're constructing a championship roster, it is all about the margins. Greatness, according to Penn, is about the space you create on offense and defense. When you're combining the two and not separating them, it is clear that Hakeem is the better player. And in the playoffs, we saw him do it against much better competition back to back. The tier of greatness to do it back to back, few players have accomplished that. Hakeem has.
Penn, round 2. Your time starts when you do.
I think you didn't. I thought you didn't understand advanced statistics. Now I realize you don't understand basketball, period. You don't think that Hakeem Olajuwon had a teammate who could score on all 3 levels? You must not have heard of Clyde Drexler when he was 32 years old. He was incredible. Okay, so I know that you talked about Jokic, and again, it's so crazy how you misrepresent these players and you make them into basically caricatures, but that's probably true because you are a caricature yourself. Jokic has almost made up the gap in value of replacement despite playing half the games. Okay. And that isn't because he's a non-scorer or just he's a one-dimensional, one-trick pony who just passes the ball and resets the way you think he is. His current 9.9 box plus minus is on level with LeBron, with Jordan, but Hakeem's 4.6 is much closer to Dwayne Wade and Kobe Bryant. Jokic is the more efficient at literally everything. He's 15% better from 3. He's 9% better from 2. He's a better post player. I know you don't want to hear that because Hakeem hit those dazzling post moves. And maybe it looked better when Hakeem did it because he took a lot of hard ones. But it doesn't mean that he was more dominant in the same places. The only argument that you can ever make between these two players is the only thing that Hakeem does better is defensively. That's it. He's not a better post scorer. He's not a better free throw shooter. He's not a better team elevator. He's not a better floor raiser or ceiling raiser. He is not a better shooter from anywhere on the court. He is only a better defender and he's a more versatile driver. That's it. Does that one factor alone make him better?
Round 3, Gifted. Your last argument. Keep it hoops, fellas. Let's go.
I find it funny because you must be hard of hearing because I said Jamal Murray in terms of a 3-level score, in terms of volume 3-point shooting. No, Hakeem did not have that. Overall, you mentioned floor creation, right? Carrying the load for your team. Hakeem did it as an offensive and a defensive engine. Jokic is a one-way offensive player. In a vacuum, if you're creating a team, Hakeem, we've seen him, based off his skill set, be able to thrive in those moments. He had an aging Drexler who was not in his prime, so that's very disingenuous for you to bring up. And once again, in the postseason, he won back-to-back years, one of which where he dominated the San Antonio Spurs, who had the MVP in the league. He came back from down 3-1 against the Phoenix Suns. And again, as a player, for you to say he's a better post player is funny because literally Hakeem was the GOAT and the creator of all those things in terms of impact. All of that is what he was able to pass down. Again, if you put Hakeem in a system where they had more shooting, where they had valuable defensive players, where he could play with some very good defensive players, more cases than not, you would find way more equatable championship teams because portability is not just a one-way thing. People always say portability, offense. How about your defensive portability? He is the more portable player when it comes down to both ends of the basketball. This isn't a one-way argument. This is Hakeem versus Jokic as players to be great. And we've seen Hakeem time and time again, winning back-to-back against all odds, beating multiple 60-win teams, having such a high load offensively and defensively to carry, have success. That is why he's the better pick here.
Penn, take us home.
Not that I want to spend my entire time talking about Clyde Drexler, but you're very much underrating Clyde. He was 14th in MVP voting the year he joined Hakeem Olajuwon. You're talking about him like he's washed. He shot 35% from 3 the year he joined Hakeem. 36%. That was very high volume on nearly 5.6 attempts per game. That's high volume for his era. Clyde was a good shooter. He was a really good shooter. He wasn't Reggie Miller, but neither is Jamal Murray. Now, I know that you've talked about him as a one-dimensional player, but he is not one-dimensional at all, and that's why he's so hard to stop. You cannot double Nikola Jokic. Teams regularly triple team Hakeem Olajuwon. Now, why did they triple team him? Is it because he was so good? Yeah, it's partially because he was so good, but it's also because he was a terrible passer. He was an awful passer. You're comparing one of the 3 greatest passers of all time alongside Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Jokic. I would put those 3 as the greatest passers of all time. You're comparing one of those 3 to possibly the worst passing superstar of his generation, okay, in Hakeem Olajuwon. Okay, we're talking about 10.9 assists per 100 possessions to 3.4. We're talking about a 36% assist percentage to Hakeem's 12. And by the way, despite this massive disparity in usage and a disparity in terms of responsibilities for creating for others, they're barely separated on turnover percentage between 14% versus 14.9 versus 13%. So despite handling the ball more, Jokic is efficient.
Run the poll. That was it. Round 3, topic 3, Gifted versus Penn, closing out the regular season of the PCL. Fellas, good work today. Thank you guys.
I apologize if I said Michael Jordan is a top 3 passer. I meant LeBron James. I apologize. I'm very sleep deprived. It's Magic, LeBron, Jokic. I did not call Jordan a top 3 passer. My bad. I'm sorry.
Chat, make sure you vote. Hold on, Gifted. I have you muted. You're good now.
The worst superstar, the worst superstar passer ever is funny.
Who's worse?
You're a funny man, bro.
No, name one. Name one.
Pat Ewing.
Was
Patrick Ewing not? Yeah.
Close. Yeah. That's
close. Yeah. Okay.
It is really close. Yeah.
No problem.
Gifted, I have a question for you. PCL,
What's up, JD?
First inaugural PCL, regular season. We're bringing it to a close. We're going into playoffs. How was the PCL? How was your experience?
Fun. I can't complain overall. First time being able to meet and debate with so many people. It was a good experience, I would say. Cool.
Penn, how was your experience? First inaugural PCL, closing out the regular season.
It was cool. It was really cool to discover people in a different light. Maybe people we don't see on the panel too much. John D. Shout outs to John D. That was my first debate. He was great. And yeah, I'm just learning as we go, and getting humbled a lot in that last debate with Chill and stuff like that. And well, I'm sorry, I'm not talking about you. Does that bother you, Gifted? I'm not talking about you. I mean, I watched your show. I came in here with a very different energy, and then you brought it right back to where we were. So that's cool. We can stay there. That's no problem.
I know it's fine. I brought these because you did ask me to eat my crackers. So I hope I was able to do that.
That was 4 months ago. We can move on. Shit's happening.
You brought it up first in this debate. I wasn't gonna say nothing about that, but you brought energy, so I matched it. Did you not?
I didn't.
Did you not ask me to eat my crackers?
I brought energy, so you matched it. You definitely
did. You not ask me earlier? That's fine. That's fine. That's cool.
All right, chat. You guys have 15 seconds to vote. Make sure you get your votes in. And if you are not watching live, make sure you leave a comment below. Who won each debate? Make sure you put the name and put the rounds won versus rounds losses. And we will count those up after today. End the poll. Close it down. Shut up shop. Bring this here. Nice. I'm still a timer. That's cool. All right. Let's see. What did the people say for the live vote? Gifted 68%. That is a W for the live vote. Again, make sure you're voting in the comments. Fellas in chat, thank you guys so much for joining us. The PCL, the regular season has ended. We are going to the playoffs. Any final words, Gifted, before we head out?
Yeah, I do want to say this though, Penn, on some real talk. I don't have a personal problem with you outside of other, things. I think you do know how to talk about basketball. I disagree with some of your points, but I don't want to make it some deep overall personal thing. I just felt like I had to match energy. So that's what I did. We can talk about other things when you want to. That's fine. But I don't hate you as a person. I just want you to know that. There's no hate there.
Thank you for clearing the air. Gifted Pen?
I'm glad to not be hated. Cool.
All right, fellas.
All right.
Thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sundays. Good work today. I'm going to kick you all out of here, and I'm going to talk to the people. Hey, regular season of the PCL. That was dope. It's been so dope so far. Make sure you're tapped in. Turn those notifications on so that when playoffs come, you do not miss it. You do want to be here live. It's okay if you're not, but I promise you don't want to miss these live moments, man. It's special. It's so much fun being able to have you guys all involved in the live chat as well. Make sure you guys vote. Go vote in those comments. We're going to count those up after today so we can figure out what's going on come playoff time. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to take Ron's job for the day. I will happily wear the title of L host today. You guys have been great. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, man. PC Nation, love y'all. Peace.